My name is Francisco Cabas. I was born in Colombia and I immigrated to the United States about 10 years ago. So when I arrived to the United States, I finished high school. I was working in factories, jewelry factories in Providence, and at the same time I was going to just a regular public high school. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to apply to RISD as a transfer student. I got a job as a camp counselor for a summer camp working with kids who were affected by AIDS and HIV, and I did that for the summer, and that was a life-changing experience. I became very curious about socioeconomic dynamics and how that affects people. So I ended up transferring to Brown by the end of my junior year. So I left RISD, transferred to Brown to do academic work. Essentially what I did at Brown, I found my place in society as an immigrant, as a person of color, and also as a queer. You have a figure, a very melancholic figure, staring into space, staring at the viewer, with this raving snake next to him, and he's kind of oblivious to the snake. He's not afraid of it. He has learned how to live with it, to live with the fear, to live with that snake that's always breathing on his neck, that won't go away. This symbol here, which is often confused with a swastika, has nothing to do with a swastika. It's actually an F and a J just opposed, and that's my family's cattle brand. I carry the mark of my growing up experience, of growing up in this family, and I carry it with pride. It's part of me, it's part of who I am, and I'm done resisting it. I'm done trying to cover it. I have made peace with it. When I was at Brown, I started to ask questions about placement and social placement and family placement and social exploitation, social exclusion, and a lot of personal things started to move. I started to realize a lot of social constructs that I had in me as a result of homophobia and growing up in a very homophobic society, because up until the point when I actually came out, I was extremely afraid of my parents' reaction because they were very homophobic. Homophobic remarks were part of our daily lives. You have a figure here who's just mourning. This is the place where traumatization took place. This is the place of the terror, of the pain, of the violation. You know, covering his face in shame, absolute shame and disgust with himself for what happened, because he has internalized that dirt that he felt in the abuser. So there was this sense of being vulnerable, but also being an outsider and being objectified. I guess that's the best way to put it. As an object that people reject, but they also are fascinated by. But by the time I left Brown, I was also starting to deal with questions about myself, just deep personal questions. And now I had a very strong academic context in which to place those questions, but a lot of the real work that had to happen for me didn't happen when I was at Brown. At that point I had made my decision to come down to LA, and I painted. I started selling little landscapes, and that kind of got me in the groove of just trying to sell the work again, which I had done before. Well, this body of work that's around me right now, what that reflects is everything that I have done in the last 10 years since the point when I left Colombia has sort of come to a conclusion, in a sense. It's about the connections that your heart makes to connect to other people, and when they're broken for whatever reasons, you're left with all this growth, organic growth, energy that you put out there, and it's cut off. And I called it Heracles again. It's a classical theme base of Heracles being the hero that had one of his challenge to become a god was to take on a lion. And in this image is kind of the lion and him have become one entity and are still struggle, and it's not about a struggle of power, but it's more about struggle of mutual survival and mutual healing. When I paint myself, paintings are actually a sense like bridges to connect those two dimensions of my life. when I paint my trauma, I can see it outside of me. I can look at it. I can reflect upon it. But I don't have to carry it with me anymore. Because people can connect to an emotion, connect to a moment, connect to a political struggle, whether they are aware of it or not, that exist.